We're going to start our next session in a few minutes. So, because there will be like a panelist kind of discussion, and the panelists will be sitting here on this side of the table facing towards you guys. So I suggest that you take seats maybe from here onwards, behind here. I think this would be too close. So yeah. All right. That's you're fine. you're fine. You can stay there. All right. English session over there, but it's the last one for 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 PyCon JP 2013, and also before we go into closing after this. So right, so before we start, just want to explain what you can expect in this session. The session, as you can see, the title is about PyCon APAC, the past, the present, and the future. There will not be any technical things that we'll be talking about. It will be more about what the community, APAC, the Asia Pacific community, Python, PyCon, and also some thoughts and ideas, and well, how we can improve the community from the 3 countries which have, is, and will be hosting the PyCon APAC. From the chairpersons of these countries. So I would like first to introduce our panelists for today. So when I read out your name, please put up your hands. Liu Benkiat from Singapore. It's like winning a gold medal or something. Eh? Okay, the runner-up is Yung Yu Chen from Taiwan. And finally, the gold medalist, Manabu Terada from Japan. Okay, so each of our panelists will first have a short slideshow presenting to you their story about about PyCon in each of their countries. After the slideshow from the 3 countries, we'll then go into a panel discussion. I have some questions that I want to ask the audience and also for each of the panelists. And after that, we can do some sort of like a Q&A, and then we can close. Okay, so first, let's have Benkiat from Singapore and talk about what PyCon, what was the history of PyCon APAC that started off in Singapore.
Well, thank you very much for coming for this particular, it's not quite a talk, it's a discussion. So you either found the topic, the other side, not as interesting, or you're not sure where else to go. But I'm here to talk about what has gone on and how we came around with the idea of PyCon APAC. But before I do that, I just want to congratulate the team here. I think they put in a lot of effort to get things going and for having the guts to run PyCon APAC this year in Tokyo. So if you could, just put your hands together and just thank them as well, you know. Okay, so with PyCon APAC, it sort of started in the year 2008. I worked in an educational institution, and we teach Python to about 2,500 of our students. Okay, so at that time we were trying to figure out who was using Python in Singapore. And that was one of the things. The other thing that we thought was the idea of organizing a Python conference for Singapore. Okay, but as most of you know, Singapore is sort of known as the red dot. You know, in fact, the dot is bigger than the country itself. So who in a country like that, we said, you know, to run a Python conference just for Singapore, you know, who are we going to get? You know, we're just going to get 5, 10. We really didn't know. And at that time, then we sort of the idea then, shall we do something like for Asia Pacific? Okay, so in 2008, to sort of get the idea going, I went to Chicago, PyCon US in Chicago. That's where I met Steve Holden. Went for a PSF meeting there as well, and basically to bring to him the idea of running a PyCon for Asia Pacific. There were a few ideas that we wanted, why we wanted to do that, and one of the key reasons was the fact that we wanted to have a PyCon for the APAC community. So back in 2008, at that time, if I'm not wrong, the only countries that had a PyCon conference going on was in India, in Australia, and New Zealand. Okay. Now, since then, I think worldwide, I think you see a lot of PyCon conferences have come around, and since then as well in the Asia Pacific region. Like we had our first PyCon conference in Singapore in the year 2009. Then after that, I can't remember, is it a year or year after China had it? Then the Philippines had it last year, I believe. Then Taiwan has it, and they're going to come and talk about what they're going to do next year. And then obviously Japan had their own versions of PyCon until this year. They decided to host PyCon APAC. All right, so the idea was like, why the PyCon for the APAC community is because, you know, when I went to the US for PyCon US, and that's an experience that I guess everyone should go at least once, you know, if not more, was that it was not exactly the cheapest thing to do, right? It's quite expensive to travel there, accommodation for those number of days. So we thought, could we do a conference that it was nearer home, if you like, and it could be slightly cheaper. Having said that, Singapore is not the cheapest place in the world, and neither is Tokyo. So have we achieved that dream? In that sense, it's not quite. We're hoping to, find a place that we can hold it where it's not too expensive. All right. So that's one of the things. The other thing was, our capacity to bring, well-known speakers in the Python community over to this part of the world. So in 2010, the then chairman of the PSF came. I think he came very much because we went over to meet up with him and said, come, because we would like to have, the PSF's endorsement. Then Mark Hammond came in 2010 as well. And Wesley Chun as well as 2010, because Google was quite supportive of what we were doing and has been supportive ever since we started. All right. Then in 2011 we had Jacob Kaplan-Moss, right? And then we had Dr. Prabhu. You note that in most of the keynotes that we had, at least one of them was from our part of the world. So Mark was from Australia, as you know, and then Dr. Prabhu, who now works with Antot, he was from India. And in 2012, last year, we had Alex Martelli and his wife, Anna, join us, and we had Richard Jones as well in 2012. And this year, we had Georg and Ryan. So the idea was to bring, sort of like thought leaders, people who are doing significant work in Python, come over to this part of the world as well with PyCon APAC. And like I said, we wanted to see if we could reduce cost by having a NeuroPyCon to attend. Okay. So the first PyCon APAC happened in 29 in Singapore, and I sort of digged up my album, and you can see some of the folks here, all right? So Terada-san, and I think that's Ian Lewis, and can't remember the names of the two. Yeah, yeah. So those were they obviously liked it when they went over in 2009. All right. Okay. So I think that's all I'm supposed to go to. Yeah. So I'm going to pass it on to the next speaker. Is it Terada?
Right. Before we move on to Japan's presentation, I forgot to mention, I should have mentioned this at the start of the session, is actually what can you expect from this session. So what we're hoping that we can gain, your takeaways that we can get as a takeaway is that to get an idea what community building is like, specifically about PyCon, APAC, and generally about around Python. And the other thing is we also hope to get you interested enough to have questions and also even do something about the community in itself. So hopefully at the end of the session, you will have more idea on what is community building and how you can contribute to the community.
Okay. Hi. I introduced PyCon in Japan. So we are inspired by Singapore at 2010. So we had first time in Japan, PyCon in Japan. So PyCon Mini JP. So January 2011. So at Rakuten, Tokyo Shinagawa. So one day and one track and Japanese only. So keynote is Atsuo Ishimoto. He is Unicode support, made Unicode support for Python 3. So and free and 136 people joined us. So Chairperson is Masuda-san. So it is photo is this is a chairperson, Masuda-san, and keynote is Ishimoto-san. So same year, August, so PyCon JP 2011 at AIIT at Shinagawa at university. One day 3 tracks, so 1 English tracks. So and 1 day sprint. Oh, keynote. Oh, sorry. Tarek. He made a packaging system. So from France. So 2,000 Japanese yen. So 247 people join us. This time from I'm Chairperson. Yes. This is Tarek. So it's open space, free space. We have free space, free discussion space. So next year, 2012, so September, middle September. So at same university. 2 days, 2 tracks, 1 English tracks, and 1 day sprint. So keynote is Armin. Nickname is Mitsuhiko. He like Japan. So and Dan Kogai. He is famous Perl language user in Japan. So 480 people. So 3,000 yen. So this is the photo sessions. This photo is a panel discussion for the web frameworks, Python, Google Apps, Flask, Django, and moderator. So we have good panel discussion.
What I remember during this particular PyCon is Dan Kogai was actually complaining about Python during his keynote. Why I do not use Python this way, why it can't be done this way and that way, this is the best, you people, I do not know what you people are thinking about. So it was a very interesting keynote for a Python conference.
Thank you. So next is the conference, this conference. So, this time is Shinjuku, and 2 days and 4 tracks. So we challenge the two English tracks. So, and I have 1 day tutorial sessions, two sessions, so before our conference. So we have joined about 500, over 500, over and more. So thank you very much for introducing PyCon in Japan. Thank you.
Okay, so we have Yu Chen next from Taiwan about a short preview of what they have for next year. So for you guys who is not in the know, Taiwan will be hosting the APAC conference next year.
Thank you. Thank you, Ikbu. Taiwan started PyCon since last year. So, and this year is our second PyCon in Taiwan. I wrote a little bit about a review there. So, because I'm expected to talk something about the future, so just if you're interested in, you can see it online. And but I can describe a little bit about it. This year we have about 400 attendees, and this is a keynote. We invited David Beasley and David Kramer and Jen DeCloe, who is the author of IHDL, which is a very interesting project for doing circuit design. And and then there's a fourth keynote speaker. Anyway, we skip it, it's fine. And right now we are starting to prepare for PyCon APAC in Taiwan next year. And the team started organizing, and we were going to have a new chairperson next year. We kind of are growing the local communities there in Taiwan, and there are several new community leaders emerged, and that person wearing in the green shirt is Tim Xu, who will be the new chairperson. And I've brought some words from him that what we are expecting for the next PyCon APAC, we will have more interactions. We want to have more talks in the program, and we hope to have more contributors of software projects and owners of that, and to do more hacking. And the most important is to have more diversity in this. And we already started to put some information online. So we have a hack pad to collect all the information that we should make public. And if we want any collaboration, we can just do that online there. And what I really love to share is that we kind of have the night market in the PyCon. It's the first try, I guess, around the world. Yeah, we really love it there in Taiwan. I think Taiwan is famous for night market. We have a lot of night markets there. And the point to have night markets is that you can have all kinds of things, including circuit I mean, not circus, not circus. Sorry for my bad English. Circus. But yeah, we don't really have a circus this year, but we do have a lot of performance, and of course, a lot of booths for technology things. We have food. We have Raspberry Pi. We have some local software project leaders sharing their experiments and their passions in the BOF. And of course, we have music and Python artists playing all kinds of music and do a lot of things. And because it's so good, so we have already identified the organizer for this BOF next year. And this is the last slide. I think we guys in Taiwan really hope to have growth in community. And we are a technical community. And we like the idea to have PyCon APAC. I think it really initiated the whole development of technical community and the communication among technical people in East Asia, I mean, this region. And we hope that continuing PyCon APAC in Taiwan will keep motivating the local developers or affiliates and all those people around this region to get together and to try to help all of us to grow. And again, I mean, in return, all of us will help to enrich this community, and which including developers like us and businesses and the users of our projects or our products, and to form and to grow together as a community. And it's exactly what we have planned in Taiwan and what we have seen in Taiwan, and it's what we hope to see in the whole Asia-Pacific region. Yeah.
So that's thank you, Jen, for the slides and the presentation. So next we'll move on to the talk, the panel discussion, and so guys, the panelists, I hope you can take your seats there and face the audience, please. Yeah. So we're going to do it like very kind of informal kind of thing. It is, after all, a PyCon conference. So I would like to ask the audience if any one of you have any questions up until now, when after hearing throughout what the other organizers or the will-be organizers of PyCon have done. How did they build up the community, or why did they do it in the first place? How about finding sponsors or anything? Is there any particular questions that anyone wants to ask?
Hi, I'm the organizer of a Korean community, and we have 2,500 users. We want to have the mini PyCon in Korea at the end of this year or next spring next year. So I want some help from other countries because we have many users, but we did not have any organizations and any friends. So we want to get the experience from yours. Can you help us?
Who wants to take the question? Who wants to take the question?
I think you can all hear me, right?
No, but we need to record. Please follow protocol.
All right. Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of. I think we are all more than happy to help. It's just how do you actually do? How do you actually help? Korea in the year 2008 when we started, I was to start PyCon APAC. I was doing a lot of cold contacting in the evenings. trying to find out who was out there, in the different countries doing work with Python. Korea was one of the countries I thought that was ahead of its curve because I heard there was a lot of interest in Python. And it was, when I say ahead of its curve, it was just a lot of interest, then it sort of subsequently, then it tapered down a little bit. But there are a few people that I know from Korea that come for the PyCon APAC conferences when we were having it in Singapore. So, and they were very enthusiastic. They will come, every year. So maybe we can tie you up with some of these people. To help you. But I think really within the country you need a core group of people who can start by organizing local meetups. Do you all meet up locally already? You do? And how often do you meet? Once in 2 months?
We meet once in 2 months, and we make some conference, or radio conference, about 50 or 100 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a good start. That's a good start. When Singapore started, we only had 30, 40 people coming for our meetups, But these are people who come for two things. One, people who come for the meetup, and people who are actually involved in organizing it. The ones who are involved in organizing, getting things going is a very small group, although the meetup numbers are a lot. But I think that's why to get any of these things going, it's important, to have a core group of people that are prepared to volunteer their time and effort to organize things. So I guess, how big is your core group of people in Korea at the moment?
I think about 20 people.
20 people?
Yeah.
That's more than what we had. So that's a good start already. I don't know.
I just have one question to Kwang Han. Okay, so do you have in future plan to host APAC, or are you just thinking about getting the users in Korea together?
After that, we want to join the APAC group. I don't know what happens, but at first, local first.
Yes, it's the best thing to start with a local one, right?
Okay, so near side in Japan, so we can help you, but so our Japanese team, so なんだろうね、日本語で言わなくてはいけなくなっちゃうっていう感じで、英語が得意じゃないです。英語で言わなきゃいけない。英語でやるのがすごくコミュニケーションがすごく辛いというところもあって。
Okay, this is really explaining himself. So he's saying is because he is so happy, more than glad to help you, but probably that help is a lot in Japanese language too. So we got to do a lot of translation layer, but he is more than just happy to help you.
Yeah, I want to second what Banquet said, that it's good to have a local one first, because that's what the Taiwan community is experiencing, that we really accumulated resources and experience in holding conference. And really we don't want to do something stupid before we can serve the regional community. And after 2 years of practicing, I think really we are ready for serving to a more general public. And and there's continuing more and more people interested in doing this kind of community service. And that should be a very good way to do it.
日本語でいいかな。日本語でちょっとだけ言うと、すごく助けられると思っていて、すごくでもあと悩むこともすごく多いと思ってはいて、ところがなかなか聞くチャンスとかすごく他の国どうしてんだろうみたいな話は分かんないと思うんですけど、その辺はすごく教えられると思っているので、その辺はどんどん聞いてくださいっていう感じです。
Basically, what he wants to say is because also thanks to proximity, right, between Japan and Korea is a lot closer than other countries as well to your country. So. And even just talking about your local conferences, I think he's just more than happy to help you. That he can share his experience how to run the local conferences as well. I mean, I think that also helps, right? Even before you step over to, to upgrade over to the APAC conference, and when you run the local one, and I think there's a lot of experience about how you get the venues and run all the financials and everything else, and get the sponsors. Probably we can also introduce between other countries as well, I think.
Okay, so I think you should exchange cards or Twitter, email address after, right? And we can take it offline later on. And so, okay, I have actually one more question for the audience, and then I'm going to move on to the panelists. Since I'm not sure whether this is your first or many times you've attended PyCon APAC, I would like to know if any one of you guys have any idea, actually, you want to share with us what is PyCon APAC to you? What does it mean to you attending this conference, like a yearly conference? Does anyone would like to share any ideas on why? Terada-san is a cute guy, I like to see him, that's why I came today, kind of thing. That's also fine.
I think it's a good opportunity to meet people is working on Python. I mean, if you are here, it's because all of us like or love Python, or we're doing something with that, we're working on that, or we are passionate about some things, models or whatever is related with PyCon. So I think it's a really wonderful chance to meet people related with the programming language. And for me, the first PyCon experience was in Singapore the previous year. And it was amazing. I just met a lot of people related with Python. I never participate, I was just traveling around and I just picked up this conference in Singapore. And it was just an amazing experience. I never experimented even like a meet with my local community in my country, the local PyCon community. There's some guys making community there, but I never met them. I just met a few ones. Even some of them went to make a speech in San Francisco and for PyCons, even that I was kind of a little bit distant from the community. So for me, it was a really, really experience. If you ask me for a definition, I think it's a really great opportunity to meet people and create connections and, all get benefits from that. So, yeah.
Great. So thanks, Luis, for sharing us your thoughts. I think that is a really, really strong point, good point there. Basically, when we do our work online, like Luis, he travels and does his work online a lot, and when you actually meet the people, it's a totally whole new experience, right? So on to the panelists then, I would like to ask you guys, starting from Ben Kiat, and then we'll move on to Terada-san, and then finally to Yun Chan, on what is actually PyCon APAC to you?
Actually, it's the effort that I have put into it's actually by accident, I came from I most of my time I am not a programmer, Obviously, I'm comp science trained and all that, but I'm at a stage in my life where a lot of what I do is in more administrative. I'm in an educational institution, so I do more academic work and academic administration work. But the interest came about because we wanted to run a conference at that time, and I don't know, it was just doing something for the community. So it was a volunteer, so volunteered to do this. And for me, what the conference, what it means is it's doing something for the community, That's sort of what it is, and not just for Singapore. Singapore, it was just too small as well. So it was just about doing a conference and bringing a conference over for the people in the region. That was really what it is for me. Yeah.
Okay. To say about PyCon APAC, or I think I would like to express more about PyCon in general. I mean, it's utterly important to have local PyCons, and because we live here, we care for the needs of our surroundings, and we can create values to the people that we know. It's definitely good to have international collaborations to people who live in the opposite of this earth, but it's also very important to get connected with people nearby. And the reason that I want to join a local community in Taiwan or in APAC is because that I actually was in Chicago 2008 in PyCon. Yeah. Oh, yeah, 2009, I see. Yeah, and it's kind of a cultural shock. I have been programming Python since I think 2005, and but 2008 is my first time to a Python conference, and I'm shocked by the Python density there. It's just great to meet, and the exact feeling of mine at that time is that, wow, there are so many Python programmers who are speaking Python at one place. I think that's phenomenal, and you cannot see the same thing anywhere else. And I want that to happen to all my Python friends, or all my friends who should learn Python. And I think that's what PyCon, I given at Taiwan, APAC, or the global PyCon means to me, that everybody related to Python get together and get connected and share what we like and what we need to know to each other.
So 難しいね、英語で。はい、頑張ります。Japanese Python Lister, although Japanese Python Lister knows, so we don't have an annual or a big event in Japan for Python Lister. So I went to Singapore. So we joined PyCon APAC. So Japanese Pythonista, for Japanese Pythonista, so we want to have a big event. Need a big event for Pythonista in Japan. So and international event is very good. So I thought. So and we I think Asia is a big community and many people in APAC area. But different we use different language, but near the culture. I think big economy and a big community we can make the situation. So こんな感じですか。はい。大体はい。大体なんとなくそんな感じのこと言いたかったんだけど、大丈夫ちょっと書いてもらっていいですか。
He also just before the session, he also briefed me with he always share his dream with us, right? That was stuff, and he also mentioned about Asia has lots of different languages and cultures, and so he definitely wants to connect all these people from different backgrounds. That's his passion, and he himself also feel responsible because Japan is also by size is larger than many other countries as well. So it's easily to get more people joining. So he feels more responsibility in terms of like building up the APAC communities in a sense. But at the same time, he also have some challenges, like such. I mean, maybe unique to Japan, maybe unique to some other countries as well. I think in Japan has a lot bigger, strong community about rubies because it's more religious in some sense in Japan, right? And also, I think because of language barrier-wise, I think that here in this market we need some Japanese publication in order to, for all the, engineers to get to know more about Python. So I think there should be a lot more in Japanese to have more people joining the Python community. So that's another challenges that he has. But however, I think it's one big tailwind in a Python community, maybe in a global. I think it's one is I say Google is obviously is active, and he also mentioned about NumPy in the science fields is also quite helpful to build up the community over in Japan as well. So because of all these together, and he definitely wants to play some certain role to build up the APAC communities. I think that's usually you share with us. Yes, thank you.
Okay, I got actually one last question for the panelists too, if they can share with us, and then maybe after that we can move on to any question and answers, or then we can just close. We have another 10 minutes left. So we are going to have the APAC next year, 2014 in Taiwan. So can we start with Venkat first? What would you like to have? What do you expect out of 2015 as looking at the APAC community as a whole?
Well, I think what YC mentioned just now, the idea with APEC was that a platform to, engage more people from the different countries together. So I think even when we had it in Singapore, for example, I think it's natural that most of the participants are from that country, right? But the hope is that in 2015 and years ahead to have actually more people from the different countries participating. I know some of these countries like in Australia and New Zealand, they have their own PyCons as well. But the last time when I spoke to Mark, it was also his hope then that there will be more cross country participation and not just being stuck in their own countries, because I think the diversity, the opportunity to network is something that is quite valuable for all of us. So that's what I hope to have. I was just thinking yesterday, I was just mentioning to some of them as well that I saw one of our participants who brought his son along, and I know in PyCon US it's pretty much an adults thing, right? Maybe they have some Py ladies thing or whatever. But I was just thinking, no reason why we also can't have a conference that that enlarges it to the family and make programming fun for the kids, So maybe that's something we can do. That when if you like, if daddy is here, or you can bring your little brother or your son along as well, and they can do fun things programming. I thought maybe that's a nice idea that we can do with our conference, and yeah, I don't know what other ideas we have, but definitely one a platform to be able to engage a wider community. Yeah.
How about Terada-san? Terada-san, do you have? Then we can move finally to Taiwan. What do you have any expectations or anything that you would like to see happen in 2014 from the general APAC point of view?
難しいな、ちょっとじゃあ時間もないから日本語で。
日本語でもどうぞ。
日本語でいいですか。ごめんなさい。ちょっとだけじゃあ早くしてそうですね。 独自性っていうのはその各国の独自性っていうのはあってすごくいいと思っていて、やはりその日本でやるから日本らしさ、シンガポールがシンガポールらしさみたいなところもあってもいいと思ってるんですけど、ただやっぱ共有できる部分っていうのは共有したい。例えばキーノートをお互い紹介し合うとか、スポンサーシップをお互いやるっていうところは、今年ももうすでにできていることだと思います。
So you like to still keep some local characteristics for each PyCon in each countries, and even under the same APAC brand, but he like to see more he's already working there, but collaboration over share all this to introduce our sponsors and also some of keynote speakers. Even this year, so we got lots of help from the Singapore side to get introduced to today's keynote speakers. So it's already working there. So that's what he also continue looking forward to.
今後としてはもう一つあるのはやっぱりエンジニアの交流っていうのはやっぱりもっともっと深くしていきたいというふうに思っていて、アジアならではできることとかアジアの人がやっぱり行き来しやすい、すごい近いということで行き来したいということで、我々も喋りに行ったりとか、喋りに来てもらったりとか、逆に他のエンジニアの人たちと一緒に交流をしていきたいなというふうにもっと思っています。
So, some of you already here, right? That's what he wants to see. It's more people networking across the borders, that's what he wants to see.
You Chen, so finally I guess we're having PyCon at your place, well not really your place, in Taiwan, right?
Yeah, my place is too small. Yeah, and I want to echo first for Banquet that diversity is very important things for Python communities, and PyKids, right? That's definitely something. Yeah, I have a 3-year-old, so yeah, that will be great. And I think later this month or next month, the first PyLadies Taiwan will have they'll have their first gathering. Yeah. It's a pity that I cannot extend, but. It's great to have all kinds of engagement from the wider community. Really I cannot say for Team Xu for what he's going to do. I know that he's planned a lot of things, and I think people who we are meeting today, and if you have any ideas and any thinking that I would love to know and try to work with you and the organizing team, which I am into, to work out something that we all will feel excited about. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so I want to pass back the question to you guys, the audience. So, do you have anything that you want to add? Okay, yeah, this one. It's okay. Do you have anyone specific?
Yeah, thank you. Just two quick, or hopefully quick comments. I think at PyCon US this year, they had a full day tutorial for kids. And they gave Raspberry Pis and did hardware hacking and things. So I think those materials are available online. If anyone wants to host a similar session, I think you can use those materials to very, very well. Yeah. So I don't know the exact numbers, but it was many tens. I don't think it was quite 100, but yeah. I think it was tens of kids.
I'm quite excited with that happening because from the educational field, I think some of you will know that computer science education has been on a downtrend, right? A lot of people are not really choosing computer science as their choice of education and careers. And I don't know, it's about engaging the mind of the young that computing can be fun and exciting.
So that's there. And then I wanted to say there's really great thinking going on here for international and APAC stuff, and I'm very, very excited about that. But I wanted to kind of comment on the local thing as well, and I think it's important to do even more local things. I'm from Seattle, Washington in the United States, and we've had, unfortunately, not enough but we've had 1 day, 1 track mini conference, and if you're in a city, like it's a very good way to start organizing a conference, because you can usually run it at a university. You don't actually really need sponsorship if you can get a free space. We did bring your own food at potluck at lunch, so it was mostly just volunteer organizing time for picking talks, and so if you have the space, that's all you really need for a 1-day Python conference. So I encourage everyone to think about having a very, very local conference, and that can help build more.
No, great comments, yeah. Just to add on the local thing, we also in PyCon JP, if you are interested, this is only for local, for the meantime it's only for local JP stuff, but if you are interested in having your own small mini conference, please contact the PyCon JP team. I'm sure they will be really happy to help you out in terms of getting instructors or even funding or anything else that you think you might need. Right. So do we have any other comments, or this is what I want to see next? I mean, I was happy about this, or this might not something that you might work on next time. Okay, so I guess we can close the session. It's time to. I do know that we have South Korean here. We have someone from South Korea, and I do know we have people from Hong Kong coming over. So we are hoping to get invitations from you guys sometime, right? Yeah, we are really looking forward to that. And finally, yeah, I'd like to. You guys have anything else you want to say? Any? Nope.
Do you have the last slide?
Last slide. Oh yeah. Yes. Okay. So Benke, I'm sorry. My computer just ran.
I think he has
Okay.
it here. I think the last slide is basically maybe just some of the more some of the things that we wanted to just share about, I guess, the challenges we have and how you can help. Volunteerism at the community level is obviously very important. I mean, none of this would have happened without people volunteering their time and effort. And volunteerism means pretty much no pay, I'm not sure about whether you are in a position that you can volunteer, but you can definitely tell somebody or encourage somebody who is in a position to volunteer to come and step up and do that. So that's one thing. Stepping up to present, conduct tutorials. At the end of the day, when somebody comes for a conference, they're obviously looking at gaining from the conference, enjoying the conference, and that comes without saying, to have great tutorials or sprints or presentations. So anything that you can do to encourage people to do that is really helpful, because like you think about any session that you do, like you do like 3 tracks or 4 tracks, and I know in PyCon Singapore we always had to look for like 30 to 40 presentations, and I'm not sure I think the situation in the US may be slightly different. You probably have lots of choices, and you can choose the presentations, but I'm not sure what is it like for Japan this year. Do you had a chance to choose your presentations, which is great? In Singapore, I think our choices were a little bit limited, but always on the top of our minds, obviously, is like I said, we want to have a great conference, right? So some presentations that sounds a little bit dodgy, we're not sure whether we want to have some of these presentations, right? So what can you do? I mean, you encouraging the community to step up, and talk about the kind of great work that they are doing with Python. The other bit is funding. A little bit of story. PyCon 2009, when we wanted to do the conference. Okay, we are a little bit crazy at that time. We didn't run a conference before. And it was just about 3 or 4 of us, and we didn't have funding, and we didn't even get funding from PSF at that time. So what we did was that we conducted trainings. Just anyone who was a Python guy, we just asked them to conduct training. I think the first workshop that we did, we got $5,000 from running that workshop, and that's basically how it started. And we knew that we couldn't get into the rate because we were not prepared to come out of our own pockets. So if you know of somebody or who can help with the funding, especially if you haven't run a PyCon before, you know contacts, you know people working in companies that can help with sponsorship, that's always a great help. You know, I mean, like this year, even with Google coming in, that was only because we got in touch with people in Google. So, you know, maybe the JP folks may not know someone specifically, but you know, I knew someone in Google. So all the context matters, you know. Well, venue is obviously one of the things that you mentioned. I think in the US it's a bit different, you know, they hold it at the hotels and so on. But for us, there was no way we could run a conference without getting the venue for free. We tried thinking about it at the second year of running PyCon and realized that there was no way we could do it. They wanted to charge like $30 for Wi-Fi access per person. Now Singapore is not cheap. They wanted to charge $500 for the use of a projector per day. I could have just bought my projector myself. So you know, getting a free venue is very key. And I think you guys didn't get a free venue this year, right? Sort of, but got it subsidized.
Nice, yeah.
So that's a real help, and the institutions of higher learning is a good source, and you'll be pleased to know that for us, PyCon Singapore, that we did this year, it helps because I work in an educational institution, so the venue is free, but I got another venue for next year, and that's free as well, so that's good. And the last point is not so much. That's more like a challenge. I think at the end of the day, language is also one of the things. Well, that's diversity. But sometimes in a conference, that can be. We need to address that issue as well. Yeah. Okay. So those are the ways I think you can help. Yeah. Any other points?
Okay. So next is LT. Next is going to be the LT session at 3rd floor. And it's going to start in 50 minutes at 5:40. So I just want to close this session then. Let's give another round of applause to our panelists.